Hi everybody, Kelvin here from London. I review vintage stereo equipment, mostly, sometimes new. I've been playing around with stereo my whole life, always changing amps, speakers, playing around for 45 years. So today I wanted to talk about this subject of how important watts are. And we'll go into the world of sound quality, of course, too. But I just thought it's worth talking and clearing up because there's a lot of interesting issues where watts are important and sometimes they're kind of problematic. But anyway, let's start with when watts are worth having or what's good about power. Yeah. Well, I would say first thing is how big is the room you're in? How big is your listening room? That's something to certainly consider. If you're in a room that's maybe 15 foot square, as opposed to, excuse me, a room that's say 25 foot square, that's a big room, yeah. If you're in that 25-foot room, you will be able to utilize big power. When I say big power, I'm meaning 100, 200 watts, yeah, stuff like that. Say 150, 200 watts, I guess. Because that big room will resolve those big bass notes, and the scale of things will play out in a nice way and fill that room, yeah. And if you're in a smaller room, say a 15 foot or smaller, having 200 watts may not work out for you. It may just bounce all over the place, and just kind of blur up your room, or your listening experience. The other thing, of course, you've got to put into this equation are, sensitivity of speakers. Because some speakers, they do not come to life. Modern speakers in particular do not come to life unless you give them a ton of power. And I'll just show you a couple of speakers here. Well, let's do all these. We'll do these too, actually. See that? I'll tell you what we got here. This is a Monitor Audio MA4 Mark II. It's from the mid 70s, yeah? It's actually rated at 100 watts. But I was playing it today with a 15 watt Sansui AU101 amplifier over there. I was actually surprised at how little volume. I just didn't need hardly any volume to get it going really loud, So the 15 watts in the sensitive speakers are absolutely zero problem with power. Zero problem with 15 watts a channel. Let me show you, hang on a sec. Now, some speakers are different. Like that one there, yeah? This one here, it's a modern KEF LS50. You put 15 watts into that, it doesn't deliver. It just feels utterly undernourished, you know what I mean? It's like putting a tiny engine into a Rolls Royce. Doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. So some speakers, particularly modern speakers, they need the watts to get hold of them and make them do something good. Another point worth noting, that's a LS35A. People, including myself, put 100 watts into these little things, even though it actually says 25 watts on the back. But it's fine, right? It's fine. You don't go turning up really loud, and you'll know immediately if you're going too loud with these, because they make the bass driver makes a kind of quacking noise. But the point I want to make there is that speaker and lots of other speakers, particularly older speakers, but it could be modern speakers, they don't want maximum power into them. they have a kind of optimum power where they're working well, but they're not being, they're not having their sides exploded by 200 watts of big bass movements. A lot of speakers, they function better without the massive power. And I'm probably talking about smaller speakers. Yeah, that is the point. Smaller speakers. And bigger speakers can cope with it, and they've got more air to move around in, So, that's really worth knowing. Let's talk a little bit about, sound quality, which, we're all audiophiles here more, I'm pretty sure. But, let's just try and define good sound, because good sound has got nothing exactly to do with watts, for sure. And also worth noting, things that read perfectly or look good statistically, frequency curves, if you see those things, that doesn't always mean it sounds good. Things that it's not always possible. It's not possible, I would say. In fact, I'm sure everyone that knows would agree. You can't measure good sound. You could probably measure when something's going wrong, but you could have brilliant frequency responses that are perfectly flat, but it doesn't sound good. Those drivers aren't making a nice sound. The mid-ranges the human voice doesn't sound like the human voice. So I just wanted to, just do a general thing there about sound quality. Other things worth noting. Okay, and I've done this myself, yeah? You get a big amplifier. You think, I'll get a big amplifier, yeah? So you get a 150 watt amplifier. You go up to the volume knob, you tweak the volume knob, and you go, wow, I got a lot of power here. It's a buzz. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, look at that. I mean, I hardly did anything, and it's getting louder and louder. Now, that is a buzz, yes. The thing is, it doesn't necessarily translate or turn out to be a great sound. It just doesn't, it's very easy to get seduced by that volume knob. It's just really easy, to go, wowee. It's like revving a 6-litre car. It's very impressive, But, the question is not whether you have lots of power, but, are you getting a nice sound stage? And sometimes too much power in a room that isn't big enough, it will just blur up the room, and it will, as I talked about earlier, a cone doing a big bass movements and also trying to do small mid-range movements, that blurs up the mid-range because it just can't do it, yeah? In a two-way speaker, that is. If it's a three-way speaker, that's a different affair, yeah? Because the mid-range is not having to do any of the bass, so, that's really something worth knowing, Big speakers make bigger sounds, if you don't know, What else could you say? I've got all these amps and all these speakers. Maybe I've got 15, 20 amps, 15, 20 speakers right now. When I look at them, I actually don't particularly think about the power, unless maybe it's a valve amp and it's 9 watts. I think, that's maybe got some issues with what speakers I put on it. Everything else, I just look at it and I think, this one sounds like this. This one sounds like, this one's got a beautiful mid-range. This one's got a lot of bass. This one's not got so much bass. I just look at them and think at their sound qualities. It hardly ever transpires into an issue about power, about what am I enjoying here. There's hardly ever a situation where I can't get enough power into the speakers to make it fine, except perhaps those Kefs, yeah, because loads of my speakers are vintage. Even these ELACs, I was playing these today with the 15 watt amp. It was fine, no problem, So what I'm saying is, you know, watch out for this wattage thing, because it's so easy to think better is going to be bigger, more power is going to be better. It can choke the speakers. It can fill up the room unnecessarily. I mean, some of my greatest, and I really mean this sincerely, hang on, that speaker on a 15 watt amplifier over there with the speakers quite close to me, I mean like 7 feet maybe, it can be one of the most beautiful perfect listening experiences, because it's not getting into the world where the room is playing a part in the sound. I'm not making big bassy noises, but I'm getting a perfect picture, which is fairly small, but you know, it's really accurate and really lovely. It's sort of, you know, it's just uncluttered. It's almost as perfect as you can get. I've got a small amp, nice amp, mind you, real nice monitorish speaker monitors. They are monitors, and it's just delivering. And like, if I was to get bigger speakers and bigger amp, suddenly the room would start to become a player in the whole sound, you know. And you know, so having bigger speakers, more watts, it might not pan out, you know. It's not it's just, it can be misleading to think more watts and more better, you know. It just can be misleading. Okay, I think that's about it, you know. Okay, I'll just tell you, that's a Name power amp. You probably know that, Name NAP 100. This Sansui 8 Deluxe, a real classic collectible thing, 1972. That's 60 watts, yeah? And it is a nice thing. It's a real nice thing. But I would actually prefer the 15 watt amp. I actually would prefer that. It's got a little bit more finesse. It's quite a different sounding thing. It's got a better vocal thing. The human voice has got a bit more space in the middle. The human voice is nicer. And I just like the way that AU101 just orientates the sound. It just seems dead right. Yeah? Just orientates everything dead right. So many amps just misorientate things a bit, you know. These are all the subtleties of sound quality that, you know, it's hard to talk about, it's hard to write about, it's hard to quantify, you know. But anyway, I think I've maybe said, you know, clarified my thoughts on that. But you know, don't start thinking 200 watts is going to be miles better than 100 watts, you know, unless you've got the big room to resolve it and probably big speakers, you know. Then it's a great thing, you know what I mean? It is a great thing. But you know, everyone's going to do that and be playing really loud. And if you're not doing that, I don't think it's a big player. That's what I want to say. I don't think it's half as big a player than it's made out to be. Let's say that. Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, lots more reviews on my channel if you want to check those out. That's it. Bye for now. See you soon.